Welcome to another episode of Fake True Stories, our newest podcast where we look at the true history behind movies that claim to be based in fact. I'm Connor Eyzaguirre.
And I'm Isabel Gonzalez.
And today we're discussing our first horror movie. We're digging into the 1979 haunted house flick, The Amityville Horror, as well as the remarkable story that inspired the film and its many sequels. Did George and Kathy Lutz and their 3 children experience paranormal activity in the house at 112 Ocean Avenue in Amityville, Long Island? Or did they make it all up to try and sell a book and recoup some hefty losses? Yes. We'll try and find out. We ain't going to prove that ghosts are real or demons are real. That ain't happening here. This would be a much bigger podcast if we were able to pull that off tonight. But what we can do is look into this decent movie. Better book, I think. This month it was my pick. I chose The Amityville Horror because I wanted to test our formula on a horror movie. There are more than a few horror movies that claim to be based on a true story. More often than not, the true story is either bullshit or nowhere near as exciting. And this felt like a good place to start. But, this is just one of many. The Exorcist, Psycho to a certain extent, the Conjuring franchise, all based on real events if, you believe in that sort of thing. And I guess that's a place to start. Do you believe in that sort of thing?
Yes, I do. But I don't believe in it to the same extent that a lot of people do. I don't think, it happens all the time. And, you go to a site that has historical value and there's automatically ghosts there. No. But are there paranormal ghosts and activities in this world? Hell yes, there are. My Hispanic and Catholic DNA makes me believe in that. I don't mess with that stuff.
My Hispanic and Irish DNA reinforce that as well. It's hard to not, think that there's some other layer of reality that we may not be privy to. And sometimes that shit, kind of leaks into our world. I don't know. I've had my own bizarre, hard to explain paranormal experiences. Do I know what happened? Absolutely not. I'm not an expert, and I would never claim to be an expert, which is where a lot of my issues with this shit comes from, is people claiming to know everything about it.
Yeah.
And, I hope we get some answers, but I doubt it.
Yeah.
So, with that, let's dig into the Amityville Horror. It was based on the 1977 book of the same name by Jay Anson, and the events of the book have largely been the subject of lawsuits and speculation over accuracy. People who, these are real people, so a lot of them didn't like being associated with what's probably, a giant hoax that makes a lot of people look stupid. Particularly the character of Father Mancuso in the book, which was changed to Father Delaney in the movie, but was actually Father Pecoraro in real life.
Oh.
He claims that, the real priest claims that he did visit the house, but did not experience anything unusual, which is a far cry from the events of the book and movie, where he's a central character dealing with kind of a supernatural flu.
Yeah.
In truth, the priest just showed up to bless the house and he went home.
He said, amen. Anyway.
And I don't know if he personally sued Jay Anson and the Lutzes, but people have. To get sued by a priest, that's got to be a low point in your life.
It's pretty bad that a priest would feel the need to sue you. You did something pretty messed up, and he probably wasn't the one that wanted to do it. Maybe someone advised him to.
Well, libel is real. The film was directed by Stuart Rosenberg, who also directed the 1967 classic Cool Hand Luke, among other films. Awesome Paul Newman movie, where he eats 30 eggs in 2 minutes to prove a point. I don't remember what that point was. Maybe that he can eat 30 eggs in 2 minutes.
What kind of point would you try and prove eating 30 eggs at a time?
He's in a southern prison camp and trying to break out of it all the time. It's got that famous quote from the warden, "What we've got here is failure to communicate." You may have heard that.
Maybe.
It's a great movie. And he did this, which is an odd jump. James Brolin was cast as George Lutz. Brolin only took the role after he got spooked while reading the book. A pair of pants he had hung up fell on the floor while he was reading and scared the hell out of him. So he figured the producers must be onto something, so he took the role.
Because pants fell off of a hanger?
Because he was reading Amityville, and he's like, ooh, and then pants fell, made a noise, and he was like, wow, this is really something. And, yeah.
Okay. right, cool. I mean,
Some people take, sometimes it's not about money. Sometimes it's about experience or, I don't know. James Brolin is the father of Josh Brolin, famous actor who played Thanos in the Avengers films, been in a lot of other stuff. James Brolin, I believe, is married to Barbra Streisand. He played Zurg in the most recent Lightyear Pixar movie. So, there's James Brolin.
Wow.
This is mostly for me.
That's fair.
Margot Kidder was cast as Kathy Lutz. She was cast mostly to draw in audiences who recognized her as Lois Lane after her breakout hit Superman a year earlier.
Nice.
She would play Lois in the rest of the Christopher Reeve Superman movies, and also was in Black Christmas, Sisters. I think she passed away a few years ago, suicide.
Aww.
She's always been, she was really troubled, had a lot of mental health problems. Both Brolin and Kidder were skeptical of the true account. They both felt that it was, in their words, probably bullshit. And who could blame them? But when the movie press tour was happening, they were told, hey, keep that to yourself. We can't have you saying the movie's bullshit. This is a true story. We're trying to sell this thing. So they were like, when interviewed, and they'd be like, do you really believe this? They'd be like, perhaps. Try to be all mysterious. The Amityville Horror has an IMDb score of 6.1, Letterboxd score of 3.0 out of 5, Rotten Tomatoes score of 31%. Critics' consensus reads, dull and disappointing. The best that can be said for the Amityville Horror is that it set a low bar for its many sequels and remakes. Which I think is pretty harsh. I think it's a decent horror movie, It's not a faithful retelling of what happened, but, then again, what happened is kind of up for debate.
That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah. It's got some spooky moments, the red eyes, the pig thing.
I will say I wasn't really scared of the movie, probably because I knew it was going to happen, so that's what helped. Also, I don't believe the story at all, so I'm like, yeah, this is just bullcrap. Like, anything that happened in the movie that was supposed to scare me, I'm like, nope, that's not what happened. Yeah. I don't care.
I remember a few weeks ago, you came in my apartment and were like, you were like a journalist talking to the editor, like, this is bullshit, this story, like you cracked the story. I was just like, this is gonna be fun.
It is. I viewed it more as a historian watching this movie, like, no, that's not what happened, instead of a horror person.
Oh, I get, we got a podcast for that, where we can turn off our minds and just be a little spooked. But over here, we want some fucking answers.
Yeah. We do the research so y'all don't have to. You're welcome.
Despite critical failure, it was a big hit at the box office, grossing about $86 million on a budget of only $4.7 million. I don't think we can really explain how much this story captivated the nation in the late 70s. Everyone was terrified of Amityville. They were like, the movie was a hit. The Lutzes went on the talk show circuit. Like, this was big. It's just crazy because, like, I can't see that happening now.
No.
Like, somebody, says, I was in a haunted house, and all of a sudden, they got a talk show.
Yeah. Well, especially, the movie came out, it was in 79, right? Okay, so 74 is when the family was murdered. So 5 years later, a movie about it comes out. They bought the house a year later, so 4 years after this went down, a movie comes out. That'd be like, we're living at that time period, and then a movie about Ted Bundy came out as soon as Ted Bundy, murdered people and was in jail or whatever, 5 years later. I don't think that would happen anymore. I think people would be like, hey, that's not right that you're already capitalizing off of that. Or, yeah, we probably wouldn't believe it because we'd be like, oh, they're just trying to get clout on the internet. No.
Yeah. Well, now, it's really easy to research a story and find out if it's bullshit. People get called out for that shit all the time now. Like, audience scrutiny is real, so I don't see that ever happening. Which is probably a good thing, because it would just piss me off if people were, becoming millionaires for their fake ghost story, and I'd be like, you lying assholes, I can see right through you.
It reminds me of South Park. When all when Butter's parents think that they killed him, and they're like, you liars! And you monsters! There's still a lot of lying people out there that are getting money for their lives, but we're not going to call anybody out.
Yeah, not specifically, but
no.
The entire psychic industry, shame on you.
Y'all.
Honestly, it's a job I want to do, because I can lie to people for money. That seems like fun.
Mm-hmm.
Just get some tarot cards and learn how to cry on cue. You'll be fine.
My cousin got a tarot card reading when we were at Texas Renaissance Festival. It was like 50 degrees outside. It felt like in the low 40s. It was raining. And she didn't want us to leave her because, you know, like she didn't want to be by herself at this big festival. So we decided to wait for her to get it done. And she's like, it's only going to be like 20 minutes. We're like, perfect. An hour and a half later, homegirl's still getting a tarot card reading. And I end up going in there and I'm like looking as she's captivated by this lady that's just like moving her hands and making broad generalizations about her life. And I asked the ladies at the front, I was like, hey, how long are you supposed to take? And they're like, well, they're normally 30 minutes. But if there's really good readings, they're going to be like way longer. I'm like, bro, I hope this $70 tarot card reading was worth it because it was not worth me sitting in the rain.
$70.
Cold. Yeah, no.
God. That's what bugs me the most about this. It's never bad news. It's always good news. Yes, you're going to get that promotion. Mm-hmm. Yes, you're going to fall in love.
Yes, ma'am.
It's always good news because good news sells.
Exactly.
No one's paying for bad news.
Exactly.
I did it one time. I went to like a psychic convention in downtown San Antonio a while back with my mom and my aunt and my grandma who all pretty much believe this stuff.
I'm about to ask, like, why?
Yeah. I wasn't.
Why did you go?
I will go pretty much anywhere with the promise of a free lunch.
That's
why I was there probably. We got our auras photographed. Ugh. Apparently I was like blue or something. My grandma was white, which means that she's basically a reincarnated angel.
Wow.
So
that's pretty cool.
That's pretty neat. You know, I'm selling tickets.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, you can go see
$10. Come see my grandma.
Angel grandmother.
She's a saint, though. Elise Bridges is a saint. But I got a tarot card reading, and she was so off. Like, she kept asking me questions, and I was like, no. I don't know what that means. I've never been there. And according to her, I was supposed to fall in love with a girl named Stacy about 6 years ago.
No.
So, Stacy, if you're out there, I'm looking for you.
The tarot card said you gotta come. Sorry.
This is fate. I can't argue with fate.
My favorite. I'm gonna trash Zodiac people too. Sorry, but like I was subbing in a middle school and all those girls are so into Zodiac signs, and I'd been with this class for a few days, so they already kind of knew my personality, and so they're sitting there and they're talking about their signs, and they're like, Miss Gonzalez, what is your star sign? I was like, I don't know, guess. So they're like, oh my God, are you a Taurus? And I was like, oh my God, I totally am a Taurus. They're like, oh, we knew it because your personality is just so much like that. Oh man. And I was like, yeah, haha, I'm not actually a Taurus. I'm actually a Scorpio. And they're like, that is such a Scorpio thing to do, to lie about your personality. I was born in March. I'm technically a Pisces, which is not something that they would do, but they all said that it was. It's bullcrap.
Oh, I love that.
All of that crap is so stupid. But like, you know, if that's what you believe in, you know, to each your own. But don't go doing white girl racism and be like, I'm not going to be boyfriend or girlfriend with this guy because he's a Sagittarius and it just doesn't match my star sign. Like, because I've met people like that. They're like, I can't talk to them because they're this sign. My cousin started to do that. Not the same one, the tarot card, but another. She falls into a lot of that, like, basic, you know, if it's cool, she'll like it. She just started watching Harry Potter, even though she's trashed it for years because her boyfriend likes it all of a sudden. And now she's part of a house and is, like, super into that kind of stuff. But, you know, if we ever brought that up 3 months ago, we'd be made fun of. But it's cool now, so they're not going to listen to this podcast, so they're not going to hear me talking smack. I love y'all, but I'm sorry.
Oh, I've got aunts. You know who you are if you're listening to this. I've been very open about this with you. They follow the star shit so religiously to the point where they're like make major life decisions based off what the stars are saying. And anytime I'm in a funk or I've had bad news or something, they're always like, oh, the universe will provide. Just, you know, this is what Capricorns are going through right now. And nothing pisses me off more than useless help. Mm-hmm. And that right there is like, just makes me want to grab them and shake them and be like, wake up.
Yeah. And see, that's the same thing, not to get like too deep into this conversation, but that's the same thing. I'm Catholic and I'm a devout Catholic, but I don't like it when people are like, oh, you have problems, just let go and let God and you'll be fine. Like, no, I need to have a solution to myself. According to my beliefs, I was given free will to make decisions. I don't want to just be, oh, it's whatever, you know, Deus Vult, man, God wills it. Like, no, like I am without a job now. I need to try and get a job now. It's so annoying when people use that for any sort of religious belief. They're like, oh, it's because the stars said so. It's because God said so. It's because Allah said so. Like, bruh, maybe you should try and fix your life yourself.
Yeah. I'm a devout atheist,
Maybe.
which is kind of an oxymoron. But didn't that whole thing about God helps those who help themselves? So shouldn't you maybe try?
Yeah, man. Well, I mean, there's like a whole joke. A priest made it one time in mass where it was like, you know, the earth was flooding and this lady was like praying for God to save her. So then he sent like a helicopter and they're like, hey, get on. And then she was like, no, don't worry. Like God's gonna save me. And then a boat comes and she's like, oh, it's all right. God's gonna save me. And then like a whale or something shows up. It's like, God's gonna save. And then she drowns and she's in heaven and she's like, what the hell, man? Where were you? And he was like, I sent a helicopter, a boat, and a freaking whale, and you didn't get on any of them. That's on you. Like,
oh, Jesus. I don't buy into spiritualism. I find it all just one big ass con that is hurting people. So yeah, I don't know how the Lutzes fit into that, but you know what? That was a fun conversation.
well, it's because they got a bunch of the paranormal like mediums and stuff to come to their that I'll go on a whole rant about that stuff when we get later. That's what made me come over to this apartment and be like, hold up.
This is kind of cool. Amityville was nominated for 1 Oscar at the 52nd Academy Awards. Best Original Score for composer Lalo Schifrin.
That's fair.
It lost to A Little Romance by Georges Delerue, which I've never seen.
No, I did like the music in this movie. I thought it was, like, it's notable. It's something that's like, wow, like, if I ever hear that, I'll know it's Amityville Horror. It's not going to be some, like, copy-paste, like, I don't know where that's from. It's like Interstellar. You know the Interstellar soundtrack. You know the Pirates of the Caribbean soundtrack. You would know this movie.
Yeah. If I saw it a few more times. I don't know if I label it as iconic as those other scores, but it is fairly recognizable. There's a rumor going around that it was basically recycled music from The Exorcist.
Nice. Nice.
If you've seen The Exorcist...
No.
I'm saying to the... I know you haven't seen The Exorcist. To the audience.
For the audience, no.
The music in The Exorcist is a little bit creepier, a little bit more hardcore, because you're dealing with a very specific kind of scare in The Exorcist. Amityville is kind of like dancing around it, like, hey, haunted, huh? Exorcist is like, the devil's here, he's going to fuck you up. So, yeah, I don't know if this would have fit in The Exorcist.
Don't play with Ouija boards.
Don't.
Smile.
Get an old priest and a young priest. The film spawned 8 official sequels and was remade in 2005 with Ryan Reynolds and Melissa George. Not great. Turns out Ryan Reynolds can't really, step outside his wheelhouse very often. I just keep thinking Deadpool's got an axe. There's also about 100 unofficial Amityville spin-offs.
Nice.
Available to stream out there. Pretty much they'll just slap Amityville on any kind of horror film and try to sell. That usually doesn't work because there hasn't been faith in this franchise since 1979.
Nice.
But here are some of the unofficial Amityville movies. There's Amityville Death House, Amityville Karen, where a Karen, the loud, angry white chick, gets possessed by the Amityville ghost.
That's a modern one, I assume.
2022.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Let's say I'm like, was that a precursor to our use of the word Karen? Like, dang.
No, they're still making these. And my personal favorite, just from the title alone, Amityville in Space. How would that work, you may be asking yourself? Well, apparently, in 2022, the ultimate battle against the Amityville curse begins after the infamous murder house is exorcised from Earth and reappears in outer space.
Yeah.
Apparently, when priests exorcise demons, they're just sending those fuckers to Saturn.
That's where they go.
I know this is going to be absolutely horrible, but I kind of want to see this.
It's like New York trash. I'm going to put it out in space.
I've never seen a haunted house movie in space. I know it's going to be terrible, but I'm curious.
Wasn't, like, technically movies about, like, outer space hauntings a haunted house movie? Because their house is whatever rocket they're living on.
Well, they haven't really done ghosts in space yet.
Oh, that's true. It's like aliens and stuff. You're right.
Yeah.
That's true.
It's got, Alien has elements of a haunted house movie, but it's more, it's an alien. It's not a ghost.
That's fair.
The closest, I think, is probably Event Horizon. You ever see that movie?
No.
Basically, a spaceship goes through a black hole, ends up in hell, and comes back possessed.
Jesus.
It's a wild movie. Yeah, we got to do that on the show at some point. Event Horizon. I haven't seen that in a very long time.
See, I can't watch Alien just like I can't watch any more than James Bond movies or Star Wars movies because I watched Spaceballs before I watched it. So my only idea of Alien is the guy eating the special, at the intergalactic diner, and then hello my baby, hello my.
I love that scene because it's the same actor.
I heard that.
It's John Hurt came back to get an alien out of his chest again. It's fucking great.
Oh,
yeah,
that's why he said not again. Ha ha ha.
Fucking Spaceballs. God, the amount of movies that ruins if you've seen that first. That's so sad. Because you'll never take Alien seriously.
No. I couldn't take Star Wars seriously when I watched it because I'm like, where's the tie on Darth Vader, bro? Like,
oh, that's hilarious and sad at the same time.
That's how it was with James Bond. I watched Austin Powers first.
Oh boy. So with that, that's the background of the film. Let's talk about the movie that inspired so many people to think this was real. We start out with the infamous DeFeo murders. Butch DeFeo taking a rifle and murdering his family in their sleep. His mom, his dad, his two brothers, and his two sisters. Killed them all. And it's pretty shocking in the movie. The movie just starts out with, gunshots in the window of Amityville, and you're like, oh boy. If you're familiar with the story, you know what's happening. And it doesn't shy away. It shows the bodies, it shows the shots. And this was not too long after the murder, so pretty hardcore to start out with that.
Yeah.
We meet George and Kathy Lutz, who are this, happy family. They've got 3 kids. George is the stepdad, but he's trying to be a good dad, and he wants them to call him dad, not Mr. Lutz, which, according to the documentary I watched, My Amityville Horror from 2012, was total bullshit. George is very much like, call me Mr. Lutz. Do not call me dad. You are not my children. Yeah.
He was not a stepdad who stepped up.
Nope, he was a stepdad who stepped on.
Jeez.
So yeah, interesting that the movie kind of adds that little detail, tries to make George a little more likable as we watch him slip slowly into madness over wood and locked doors. Father Delaney, our third priest name of tonight, shows up to bless this house. No one's there to greet him because these are just, rude people.
Yeah, for real. Freaking Kathy was like, well, he was supposed to show up, but he never did, so we went on our boat ride without him. Like,
to be fair, the priest didn't really look around that much. He just kind of went inside, went upstairs, started doing his thing. Didn't go around back where all the noise was coming from.
Well, he tried to open the window and then he couldn't, and then that's when he got spooked. So maybe he was going to, but it was because of the spooky moment that he wasn't able to.
Fair enough. Well, he tries to bless this house. Flies show up, and he gets the devil flu or whatever, leaves, and is pretty much sick the rest of the movie. Mm-hmm. Rod Steiger, Academy Award winner Rod Steiger, he is doing great in this. The flies are such a weird little touch. It's gross. Makes me think that there was more of a mold problem than a ghost problem. But nobody looked into that.
No. And I've experienced flies to that degree before. It's not fun. Especially when there's flies at adult stage fly and maggot stage fly literally infesting the area in which you're walking, and they're making high-pitched squeaky noise. It's awful. It's not fun. I've never been one to kill any sort of animal on my own, unless we're consuming it or whatever. I'm not just gonna go and kill a bug because it's in my house. I try to be nice. I try and let it out if possible. I'm weird. Anyway, flies, I do not give 2 shits about flies. I was an FFA, and I would revel at the fact that I had my fly spray and would just go out and watch them fly and fall from the air and die because of the poison I was putting on them. Because they're awful. They're so bad. They bring disease, and they're gross, and I know they have a purpose on this planet, but not eating my beautiful cow's legs.
I loved the direction that story took, where it's I think all life is sacred. I don't want to hurt bugs, but I will fuck up a fly given the opportunity.
I will. I'll try and let it out still. I try. I let out a gnat the other day. That's where I
Oh my God.
Life. I can't. I feel bad.
A gnat?
I did.
Oh my God.
Homie deserves to live too.
No, see,
If I was a gnat, I would want someone to let me outside so I get eaten by a bigger bug.
If I was a gnat during my 3-hour lifespan, I don't think I'd care. But I take the mouse hunt approach, where like this is my house.
Yeah.
Anything that comes in here is declaring war, and I will not lose.
No.
So I've never had a vermin problem.
No. I don't think I have one because I think they know I'll just let them out, and they're like, okay, like there's no point. We'll just leave. I started doing that to cockroaches too.
You can't do that. You gotta kill those things.
I can't do it. Not because I feel bad, but I don't like the crunching noise that they make, and also I don't like being biased towards cockroaches. I could go on a whole thing about my weirdness and not wanting to kill bugs.
If you don't kill a cockroach, they're gonna lay eggs, and there's gonna be 1,000 more cockroaches.
That hasn't happened to me yet, and I've let them outside every time. I had one land on my pillow when I was praying, and that was pretty not okay. I was like, what did I do? Did I say something wrong?
That's a sign.
I was praying about pets. I said, please bless my pets, and then cockroach fell on my pillow. Like, I said, something gonna happen?
I'm just picturing like a freeze frame, and the roach is like, hi, you're probably wondering how I got into this situation. Jody, the imaginary friend. Just a constant red flag that is never addressed by mom or dad.
That's true.
Yeah.
That is very true. Especially when that poor babysitter, man.
Jackie.
She's in there. She's freaking out. She her knuckles are bloody because she was trying to bang to get out of that door. And the freaking little girl didn't let her out because Jody told me not to. Fuck Jody. Like, oh my God. You're going to listen to your friend because... ¿Por qué? You're going to let that poor girl be in the... I bet she didn't do it because she didn't want to go to bed. That's why. That conversation where she's like, I don't want to go to bed. I just didn't feel good because I didn't want to eat the meatloaf. And then babysitter's like, I don't care. Don't play that game with me. I got to put you to bed. And then she gets locked in there. So the little girl's like, haha, suck it, bitch. Like, you're not coming out. That's mean. The little girl sucks.
I do hate meatloaf. That might have been overkill.
He's a really good musician, though. Rest in peace.
I'll do anything for love, but I won't do that.
I won't do that.
How did she lock the door if there is no lock on said door?
Well, I'm not saying she locked the door, but like if I heard somebody go into a closet and I knew the closet could be unlocked, I wouldn't sit there and just be like, dumbass, just come out. If I actually heard them freaking out and being like, I need help, I'd go open the door for them.
Well, yeah, but what if your imaginary friend pig monster thing has his hand on your shoulder and is like, hey, maybe we don't do that?
Yeah, but she didn't make it sound like that. She was like, Jody told me not to do it. She could have been like, Jody told me not to do it. In some sort of like scary, like scared voice. No, she was like, because he told me not to. Okay.
I think Jody is a lot more forceful than we might be led to believe. And that kid doesn't quite know how to express that fear.
Whatever. Which, speaking of Jody, that is one aspect of the story that I do believe is legit.
Jody.
I do believe Jody. Not necessarily them seeing like pig eyes and stuff, but I do believe that little girl saw some sort of like creepy, either like the deceased kid that was there or, the pig. I do believe that because I don't think kids lie about that stuff, especially not 1970, 75 children?
74.
Okay, yeah, not 1974 children who don't have access to like YouTube and Elsagate stuff where like weird things happen all the time when they watch like Five Nights at Freddy's at 3 a.m. in the parking lot. Like they don't have any, so they don't know what to lie about unless they saw a movie. And these kind of movies were like probably not letting, parents at that point probably weren't letting their kids see them yet because we weren't so desensitized to spooky things.
Well, I didn't even see a TV in that house. Like I don't think they had a TV.
See, so I don't think that kid was lying about that like at all. If a kid now were to be like, oh, I see some sort of creepy thing, I would maybe believe it, but I'd be like, you're probably just, thinking of a video game or some stupid YouTuber that you were watching. Kid back then? Hell yeah.
I'm trying to find, like, where does the name Jody come from? And I thought, like, was it one of the kids who was killed by Butch? But no, Ronald Sr. and Louise, and then the kids, Dawn, Allison, Mark, and John. So, no Jody. But
maybe Jody was a nickname for John. Maybe he had a middle name that was like a D.
Oh my God.
Maybe. I don't know.
John DeFeo. John D.
Ooh, see?
Is that Jody?
Maybe.
Oh my God. Did we just crack the code?
Yeah, or maybe it was like he had like a younger sibling and they were calling him Joey, but they just couldn't say it, so they said Jody and the nickname just stuck. Because things like that happen. That could have been the kid.
Oh, that's frightening.
We solved it. You're welcome. Y'all don't got to do any more medium hunting. You heard it here.
I feel bad for the people who've owned this house since the Lutzes and have had to put up with fucking ghost hunters trying to break into their house.
Well, it's like the people that own the Breaking Bad house in Pizza.
Yeah.
Going on their roof.
Yeah, they got a fence, like private property. Stop throwing fucking pizzas on our roof.
It's like the pizza roof, man.
Oh, God. So this is the only horror movie I've ever seen where ghosts apparently stole some cash. Never seen that before.
No, Ghost didn't do it. That was George. I don't care. I don't care what we see in the movie of like, oh, the money little thing is still here, but where's the money? George took that money. Bull crap. George came up with all this crap. I don't care what that man says. I'm sorry. Like, if he listens to this, because he's probably so invested with everything, he might listen to this story. I don't believe you, George.
Well, he's been dead for a long time.
I thought he was still alive.
No, George is dead.
George is ghost. I don't believe you.
George is dead, and apparently Daniel, the kid, is super happy.
Cool.
He hated George so much.
I understand why, Daniel. God bless you. I hope you're doing good in your life.
He's not.
I hope your life gets better, bro.
I'm going to talk a bit about that documentary because it was just sad. But yeah, $1,500 goes missing at Kathy's brother's wedding, and George offers to pay the belligerent caterer with a check that bounces. But I love that scene where the caterer is just like, I like cash. What? What's the problem? Give me cash. All I want's cash. He's like a mob caterer.
Gabagool.
It was hilarious. And George is like, I'm going to pay you with a check or I'm not going to pay you. Get the fuck out of my face.
He's not going to pay you regardless because he doesn't have the money.
Yeah. No one ever finds that cash, and that is the scariest part of this movie.
That's because George took the money. Like, geez, man. Also, I wish they would have showed this in the movie, but, like, that wedding scene. So, during that point, according to the book, he had, like, crazy diarrhea and was just insane because he hadn't showered in, like, 9 days at that point. So, anyway, he was not Catholic. He is not Catholic. His wife was Catholic, okay? And they go to a Catholic mass. And if you guys don't know anything about Catholic theology or Catholic, what you're supposed to do, if you are not Catholic, you do not take the communion. You don't do that. That is a big no-no. And George took it, and he apparently got really sick. And I don't think it's because of the craziness of Amityville. I think it's because he was a Methodist taking Catholic communion who's being an ass to his children. So that was God punishing him. Because I had a friend who's not Catholic, and he took communion, and I always wish him a happy Good Friday whenever that comes up. So, Kyle, shout out to you in a couple weeks. But, like, Kyle's a good person, so he didn't have any, like, bad things happen. George, however, no.
I took communion by accident when I was a kid.
You're an honorary Catholic. Happy Ash Wednesday.
And also to you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's funny that we're doing a story about paranormal activity and, like, crazy first day of Lent.
Did not plan that. Just worked out that way.
Hey, yeah, I'm wearing my ashes. I went to mass. Everybody that doesn't ever go to church on Sunday was there today because you got to have that Instagram photo to be like, look at me. I like Jesus.
I always forget about Ash Wednesday, and then when I go out and I look around, I keep thinking, like, they got something up there.
Like, what happened? Like,
yeah. I had a friend explain it to me once, and it didn't take. But
that's fair. I mean, if you're not raising it, you're like, huh?
But when you're like, 12 years old and you stay over at a friend's house and you got to go to church the next morning because mom can't pick you up yet.
Yeah. And
everyone's getting up in line to eat the little wafer and have a drink, and you're like, you don't want to be singled out. So you get up in line, you take the thing, and then you go sit back down. You're still not quite sure what's going on.
It's okay.
Because Colton didn't explain it to me. Not podcast Colton, previous Colton I knew in Maryland.
It's okay. You were innocent. You didn't know. George should have known.
George, didn't he convert for Kathy? They mentioned that he changed religions.
When?
In the bar scene, where his friend's like, you got mortgage payments up the ass, you changed religions, you're a stepdad to 3 kids. Like, that was part of the...
Maybe he did. I don't know. The book didn't tell me that he converted to Catholicism. And whenever the priest came to visit... I'm going to say no, actually, because whenever the priest came to visit him, according to the book, this is the book, it's hearsay or whatever, the book says that he was Methodist. It takes, like, months to become a Catholic. You don't just be like, I want to be Catholic. Like, congratulations. Like, you gotta go through RCIA. It's like a whole thing. And the priest came to visit only 6 days before the wedding. No.
I thought you just started going to said church and just sat there and...
No, that's what a lot of, like, not all, there's different things. That's what some, I guess, Protestant folks do. But, like, Catholic, like, no. Because we have a very different belief. And I can explain that. We don't gotta get into religion on this. But no. It's not like I'm Catholic now. You're not cool enough to just become Catholic. You got to know the ways.
This is such a... a giant part of culture that I just completely didn't experience. It's weird.
Yes, yeah, welcome. It's fun.
Jackie the babysitter we already talked about. I wonder how much they paid her and if they told her like, hey, can we use you again?
Hey, can you come back? Don't use the toilet because they're like black and gross.
Yeah, that was odd. Ugh. The black toilet thing, and then like the black sludge hole under the hidden room,
Ugh.
which I choose to believe is liquid evil, per like Prince of Darkness, not what it probably was, which was a wonky septic system.
Oh God.
Sorry, George. You kind of have it coming, but sorry.
Ugh. Ugh.
And then he goes to the bar, and the bar people are like, holy shit, it's Butch DeFeo. And he's like, holy shit, no, it's George Lutz.
He's like, no.
And they're like, no harm done, I'll bring you a drink. And I just thought that was interesting that they'd be like, you look exactly like that guy who committed a horrible mass murder a year ago.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'll have a scotch, I guess. Jesus.
Appreciate it. That was really nice of you to bring up.
But if you look at the pictures of Butch DeFeo and George Lutz, it is a weird resemblance.
Yeah.
He could be related. He could be a cousin.
Maybe that's why he bought the house.
Yeah. There's theories about, we'll get to the DeFeo murders, but basically that, like, he was mobbed up and the mob killed all of them because he owed money.
Oh, like with because that was the thing I saw. They theorized that too because they were Catholic and they're Italian, so they're like Italian, Catholic, mafia. That's it. They got mob murdered. That was why.
Well, let's also. I mean, it's Long Island too. Let's not.
Yeah, but
come on.
It makes me laugh. So forget about it.
I'm not saying all Italians are gangsters, but Italians from Long Island with mob connections are.
True. I said, "Mamma mia."
We get this kind of bullshit story about who built the house. John Ketchum from Salem, the one guy in the entire witch trials who was guilty, apparently, fled to Amityville and was like, I'm going to build a house on this sacred ground. And that's mentioned in the movie and the book. Mm-hmm. I'm going to call it right now that is pure horseshit. Because there's no way. There's no way.
No, I don't think so. I just quick look up of John Ketchum, the Witch of Amityville Horror. According to the Amityville story, that was okay. Yeah,
so according to notable liars, John Ketchum built this house. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it would be interesting if the one guy who did worship the devil
actually was doing the things the Puritans accused them of
the
doing.
witch they were trying to get fled and was like, in the name of Satan, I'm building this awesome three-bedroom house.
Nice Dutch colonial house with that grambling roof. Beautiful.
The devil supply the lumber? How'd you do that?
I guess. It's like Noah's Ark, but not... Yeah, okay, so he's on Villains Wiki, so I don't believe for a second.
Oh my God. Real people don't end up on Villains Wiki. Jesus H. Christ. So, I don't know who built this house. I didn't look into the history of the house. I'm pretty sure that's, probably public record in, Long Island. But, down here, I'm not going to call up the public records people and be like, I want to know about that house you probably get thousands of phone calls about. So, yeah, I don't think an escaped witch built this house.
No.
Nor was it built on Native American burial ground because, I saw Poltergeist. It's a great movie. Didn't happen. The secret room, however, is creepy. Harry the dog constantly scratching at the wall. They find this secret room, a red room where they see an image of Butch DeFeo's face, and then it's just a red room. That actually did happen. There is a red room in the basement, but it was pretty much just storage. There wasn't a body in there. There wasn't the devil in there. It was just another room. Basements have rooms.
Yeah. I've never had a basement ever in my life because we live, at least in DFW, we're on clay. So it would break and not work very well. So I've never had a basement. I've always thought we needed one because I'm terrified of tornadoes. But my parents were like, that's stupid. You can just go in the bathroom. I'm like, I'll die in the bathroom. I won't die underground. I'll stay alive down there.
We had a basement in our house in Maryland. It was furnished. My uncle stayed there, and then we had a room next to the, like, in the basement near a drain that the dogs would always bark at. We always thought there was a body under our house. In that room, we had, like, storage, and it was like a rock room. It looked creepy, and I always hated going in there.
Yeah, it sounds pretty spooky.
Yeah, basements are fun. So at one point, George Lutz wakes up, and there's a marching band going through his house. I thought that was such a strange detail that appears in all of the retellings.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently, Satan decided to conduct, band class at some point. It was like a 1 and a 2 and a irritate George.
Yeah, why not?
It's the weird shit that confuses me. It's like this ghost is able to, like, warp reality in a way that no other ghost can do. Like when it makes the window fall on the kid's hand.
Yeah.
In real life, that apparently made his hand flat. And then it, like, he got better.
Huh.
Yeah. The last day, they were only here for like 28 days, which is
February.
Yeah, which is one day more than I would stay here after the shit that if I experienced half of this shit, I'm out immediately. Amazing what people will tolerate.
Yeah.
George goes full Jack Torrance and starts hunting his family with an axe. And eventually wises up and is like, wait a minute, I shouldn't do this. And then they leave quietly, which everything's like exploding around them, and they're just like, careful down the stairs.
You grab the rail.
They get in the car and they're like, we forgot the dog. And George is like, fuck the dog, and drives away. But then they get about 20 feet and he's like, damn it. And he goes back inside to save Harry. And I liked that. I don't know if the real George would have done that. Probably not. I feel like the real George wouldn't have gone back for one of the kids.
No. He would have left them in the room because they, like, made noise while playing a game. Like children do.
This movie leaves out the detail that George and Kathy got so pissed off at their kids at one point, they beat them with spoons.
And belts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Can't have, child abuse in your movie.
No.
If it's the heroes doing it.
Well, and twice they were locked in a bedroom, like, by themselves once they were locked in a bedroom for a week, but I think that was after, or at some point the kids had threatened to run away twice. And I don't think kids do that unless there's legit things going on. And yeah, George just, like, locked them up in a bedroom because they were doing kid stuff.
Did you ever have a moment when you were a kid where you, like, threatened to run away because you had an argument?
Mm-mm.
I did that a couple times, and I was always like, you pack your bag and you pack some toys and like a sandwich.
Yeah.
And you're like, this will show them, and then you never actually leave your bedroom.
You're like, never mind. I thought about it. I used my rational thought that I just developed right now.
George falls through the stairs, ends up in a black pit of despair, crawls out, and
Poop.
Yeah, it wasn't liquid. Well, it was liquid evil in a way.
Yeah.
Ugh, I'd rather be killed by ghosts than ever have to deal with that. George saves the dog, they run out, and they never went back. And they proceeded to sell that story for the rest of their lives.
Woohoo.
Because I feel like you don't really go on talk shows to talk about your trauma. You tend to keep that close to the chest and tell a confidant, maybe write a book, but you don't talk about it on fucking, what was it? I don't remember the talk show they went on specifically. It's going to bother me. Whatever. They're all the same. So I watched this documentary called My Amityville Horror from 2012, which is Daniel Lutz, who's now in his 50s, telling his side of the story, a story that has never left him and has pretty much ruined his life. The other two siblings refused to participate in the documentary. He has been dealing with the trauma of this his whole life, and nobody really believes him, and it's kind of fucked him up. And in the doc, random things are said that are never evaluated, never elaborated on, because it's like, what the fuck was that? How was that possible?
Yeah.
Like the flat hands thing. And they bring up the fact that when Butch DeFeo killed his family, there were no drugs in their system. He didn't use a silencer. So he killed all of them at, one after another. None of them woke up. How the hell did he do that?
Yeah.
That's the part that's a little spooky for me. Because were they supernaturally pinned down and he killed them like he said happened? He's dead, and he died in prison a couple of years ago, by the way.
Was there actually a storm going on that night, like in the movie, or no?
I don't know.
Because even still, you would still have heard something, especially if you're like the sibling sleeping next to the other sibling.
Yeah. Well, DeFeo claimed he changed his story so many times. Yeah. He said that he found their bodies after the murders. He blamed the killing on a hitman. Eventually, he did confess and was like, "Yeah, it was me." And at first he said voices told me to do it. Mm-hmm. Years later, he was interviewed in prison. He's like, "Yeah, I killed them all, and I'd do it again."
Jesus.
So he's a special breed of monster.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. So the Lutzes knew about the murders before they bought the house. So they already had background info to concoct a little ghost story. If that is indeed what happened. Yes. I'm not accusing anybody of anything.
I am.
Okay.
Freak.
Daniel hated George. They butted heads constantly. He thought George was there to fuck up his family. His real dad took off. He didn't die. I think in the movie it says like he died. In reality, they got divorced and he took off.
Yeah.
And George was just, he didn't really want to be a dad. He didn't have any parenting skills. He kind of hated having to be a father. He just wanted Kathy. And you can't do that. If you're going to marry, a woman with children or a man with children, you got to be a parent.
Yeah.
You better, you're marrying them too.
Those are your kids now, man.
Yeah. I hate the whole evil stepfather, stepmother thing. Ugh. The fly thing happened in mid-December. So typically not when there would be flies flying around Long Island. If there were any flies. The whole fly thing is, up for debate. George and Kathy beat the kids with wooden spoons at one point, but George apparently was abusive way before Amityville. So that, I think, the more I'm looking into like the kids side of this feels more like dad was abusive and they concocted this shit to try to distance themselves from it. And George got on board when he's like, "Oh, I can sell that." I think that's what happened here.
Yeah. I mean, it's possible. I mean, my whole thing with this whole, the whole story of why I think it's, bull is they bought this house that they didn't have money for, and they were being investigated by the IRS, and he's having problems with his work, and, he had just, I think they'd, not super recently gotten married, but, they were freshly newlywed.
Yeah, they were pretty,
right?
It was new, yeah.
So, he didn't want to have kids, so he's in this relationship with these kids, and now they're moving to a new place. He's stressed. And he's taking his stress out on his kids, and then, rather than being like, "Yeah, I beat my kids up because I just was mad at them," you can be like, "I beat them up because the house is evil and DeFeo killed his family in there, smile. That's why I'm being a horrible person. Not because of,
well,
being an ass." Ugh.
But Daniel also makes some pretty incredible claims in this doc. Like, for example, George claims he never believed in the occult prior to this, but Daniel says he had books on devil worship and levitation and all sorts of occult shit. So if that's true, then George knew how to, write up a good yarn here. However, Daniel also claims George was telekinetic and could move things around with his mind. So credibility goes south pretty fast once you start claiming dad could move shit with his mind.
Yeah. If it was a kid saying that, then you'd be like, "Oh, that's cute. Dad's playing magician with you." I was a magician for one of the classes I worked with. I don't know how to do magic, but I could do magic for these kids because, anybody. But yeah, for an adult to, whoa, man, y'all missed it. He made his fingers move to the other hand. That's pretty cool.
It's a gift.
It's really impressive.
But yeah, George probably couldn't do that.
Probably not.
And the problem with recounting this as something, this happened in 1974. This movie was made in 2012. It's been a while.
Yeah.
So how much of that do you really remember, and how much has been influenced by 30 Amityville movies and random other ghost shit you might have seen and, made up memories of your evil stepdad? So we can't really trust that. It's, the unreliable narrator. And while, Daniel definitely seems like somebody who needs help, I don't know if this is why he needs help.
Yeah.
Yeah. So also Kathy turned into an old woman at one point. It took hours to go away.
Yeah. She turned into an old woman, And after that happened, I think she saw herself in a mirror, looked like an old woman, and was like, what the heck? But apparently whenever she died of, I think, like a lung disease. I think that was what it was. But apparently that aged her, like, crazily, so she kind of looked like an old woman, even though she wasn't. So some people are like, it's the house still following her and the curse, which is really sad. Like, that's awful that she died in such a, spooky way.
George Lutz died in 2006 at 59 years old from heart disease. Kathy Lutz died in 2004 at 57. Can't find why, but I believe you.
I got that from a documentary I watched, which in that documentary, George was still alive, which is why I was like, yep, he's still alive today. Like, I don't know.
Emphysema. It was emphysema.
There it is.
So they're both gone. And on their deathbeds, neither one, confessed, oh, we made it up. So there's also that. A lot of hoaxes get recanted on people's deathbeds because they've been living with a lot of guilt. Like Bigfoot. A lot of Bigfoot has been like, nope, I faked it.
Like, nope. So just in case I do get punished for this, let me just... Nope.
I can't imagine, like, if you are,
I was lying.
You die, you go to... Like, there is an afterlife. You go to heaven, you're up there getting your, like, job interview, and they're like, why'd you fake a Bigfoot sighting? That's not cool.
Sorry, buddy, you gotta go down there.
A lot of people believe in that, you're messing with people's beliefs when you're faking Bigfoot. I don't agree with that.
See, that's what purgatory is for in Catholic lore. You don't go to hell, you just gotta go to purgatory to think about what you did.
That's where the hoaxers go?
Yeah, you go there for a little bit to think about what you did, you get in trouble, and then you get to come back up. I feel like you have to sit in the corner for a while.
I feel like as an atheist who is, I think, a pretty decent person, I'll go to purgatory, and I hope I run into George Lutz. Because I got some fucking questions.
Be like, hey, what you in here for?
I'll recognize the fro and the beard and
what
be
if
like...
it's actually DeFeo?
My God. He faked his death. Like, he escaped prison and caused all this shit? Yeah. That'd be wild.
No, but I mean, no, you think you're going up to George Lutz, but you're actually going up to Ronnie DeFeo because they look so similar. And you're like, whoa.
He is 100% in hell. DeFeo is he's burning alive right now. George, well, probably a douche, he just, faked a ghost story. Which isn't cool, but it's also...
Well, just kids.
That too.
That's pretty...
Maybe I won't run into George Lutz.
I don't know. I don't know how God decides who goes to hell and who goes to heaven.
I hope there's some style points involved where he's like, you know what? It was a fake, but it's pretty good.
It's a pretty good fake. Yeah, I'm
entertaining. Proud of that. Come on in.
Even I was impressed. I know everything.
I didn't see that coming.
I just hope, when everything's done, you get I've seen this online, you get like a stat screen that's like, you spent this many hours, like playing this one video game, you spent this many hours taking a shit, you spent this many, you said like, howdy doody do 400,000 times, and you're like, I don't know, just like some random thing. You pet this many dogs. Like, I want that. I want to know that whenever I die. Like, yeah, that's how many dogs you pet. That's how many of them were the exact same dog and you just didn't realize it. Like...
That would be interesting to learn, like, all the mysteries of your life.
How many times you forgot someone's name and were just like, hey, dude. Like, yep, that was 1,221 times.
I would immediately ask, like, all right, so ghosts. What's the deal?
And then he'd be like, you want to become one? Boom, and you become a ghost.
Ghosts, Sasquatch, Nessie, aliens. Come on. That's all I want to know. I don't care. I don't give a shit about anything else. I just want to know that.
Tell me.
Was I wasting my life believing in the unattainable?
He said, no, actually, the Mormons are right. You should have your own planet right now, but you didn't believe. So you weren't wearing the underwear.
Oh, my God. That would be terrible. I want to find out that, like, the Loch Ness Monster is Bigfoot with a snorkel.
Ooh.
That it's him.
That'd be pretty cool.
It's his, like, vacation.
Well, it's like all the cryptids are just the same thing. It's like Jersey Devil is actually just Sasquatch, which is actually just Nessie, which is actually just Chupacabra, which is actually just Mothman.
Which is actually just some dude from Phoenix dressing up on the weekends, yeah.
He just has a lot of money and time to kill, and whenever he dies, he passes it on to one of his family members. He's like, all right, you're the next cryptid of the world.
This is just Richard Branson with too much time on his hands.
This is what you're doing.
That's a great idea for a story. Oh my God.
Go ahead and use it.
That's fucking awesome.
I want 10 cents if you make money off of it.
So let's go into the true story here. Like, what really happened in Amityville. We will never really know, because everyone who was involved has kind of changed the story, you know.
Yeah.
We know about, DeFeo killed his family. That happened. A year later, George and Kathy Lutz bought the house on the cheap, aware of the history, moved in with 3 kids. Father Pecoraro, some sources say he heard a voice saying "get out," which happens in the movie, which is pretty creepy.
Yeah.
And he takes his time getting out. I hear a disembodied voice scream at me, "Get out." I'm going to move a little faster than that.
Like, okay. Cool.
Yeah. It's like, oh, yep. All right. I'm out.
Point taken. Goodbye.
Some sources say that the real priest heard that. Some sources say he didn't. Hard to say. I think he's dead. So there's no really finding that one out. According to this source, Collider.com, Amityville, the true story, he was slapped by an unseen force and blisters formed on his hands. So the ghost was like, "Get out." And I guess he wasn't moving fast enough. So the ghost was like, "Did you fucking hear me? Get out."
Get out.
And slapped him. I wish I'd witnessed that. That would have been hilarious. So according to the story, when the Lutzes moved in, shit started happening. Mm-hmm. Doors slammed on their own. Beds moved. There was ooze on the carpet, which I feel like could be explained by the dog. Strange. Just saying. Strange smells came and went. A lot of weird smells. And the biggest thing, the house was constantly cold. George could not get the house warmed up. And that's pretty much all he did, was chop wood and burn it and check the boathouse. That's all he did for like a month.
Fireman.
He didn't shower. He didn't shave. He didn't parent. God knows he didn't parent. He didn't go to work.
He did have sex with Kathy on the 26th.
Oh,
That's in the book.
He doesn't shower for a month, and then he gets it on.
Again, according to the book, he ends up like kind of cleaning up before he goes to the wedding. I don't know if
it didn't look like that in the movie.
Or the movie didn't show. The book, I think, I don't remember, legit, but I'm pretty sure he did.
George said he would wake up at 3:15 a.m. every night, which was the approximate time the murders happened. And one night he said he woke up to find Kathy levitating over the bed. And how do you not, have a stroke at the very, sight of your wife floating over the fucking bed?
Yeah, if I were asleep and then I were like, oh, I gotta wake up to, take a piss. And then I saw my husband just, levitating, I would pull out every single Catholic, Christian, whatever thing I have in my brain, and I would just start, I don't even know, I'd get water, I'd cry, I'd turn the light on. I wouldn't just be like, oh, okay, I guess it's just what's happening, we're just gonna live here now, no.
I could picture you just going full Latin.
I probably would. I don't know Latin very well. I know 2 prayers in Latin. I'd just start singing those, and I'd be like, this doesn't have anything to do with what's happening right now, but it's in Latin, and demons apparently don't like that, so...
I'd be screaming all the Latin phrases I do know, just E pluribus unum, and trying, hoping it's stuck.
Benny bitty bitchy. Or whatever he says. Tu brute.
Oh my god. If I woke up and my wife was floating, I am immediately the biggest believer on the planet.
Yeah.
I am full blown, I'm in. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. I'm in.
Yeah. That'd be enough.
Apparently George just was like...
Well, he believes in the occult, apparently, so he's just like... Whoa.
Yeah, I feel like he's just reaches out, grabs her stomach, and just lowers her to the bed and goes back to sleep.
Okay, if you were the one that was floating, would you want to know that you were floating?
Oh, maybe.
Would you want your spouse to tell you, hey, Connor, I woke up last night and I saw you were levitating in bed and your head was you kind of crazy.
I hope the person I marry, the person I spend the rest of my life with, would absolutely smack me awake and be like, what the fuck is happening? You're 3 feet over the bed.
Are you David Blaine?
We gotta get the fuck out of here. That's my soulmate. So I don't have anything to worry about.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be told that. I wouldn't at all. Because I don't think I'd ever be able to go to bed again. Or I'd strap myself down every night and then be like, well, if a fire happens, I guess I'm dying. Because I don't want to float again.
the house is on fire and you're the only one who doesn't believe it, you're like, no, it's the ghost.
It's not gonna happen. He's trying to trick me so I can float.
So it took less than a month, and eventually, I guess the marching band was the final straw, and they took off.
They said, no, I hate acoustic music.
So once the word got around, there's ghosts at the Amityville house, suddenly every medium in the country was like, oh, I got to get a piece of that. So paranormal investigators visited the house in droves. Famously, Ed and Lorraine Warren of the Conjuring franchise, who are either the greatest heroes in history or absolute charlatans, depending on how I'm feeling during the day. Because I've had moments where I'm like, they're doing the Lord's work, and other moments where I'm like, those fucking liars. Depends on how I'm feeling. One of them took a picture of the upstairs where there's a ghostly looking child up there. And everyone was like, there weren't any kids in the house. And I'm like, there were dozens of people in the house. There could have been a kid. You don't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. When there's like a bunch of people in the house, I assume somebody brought their kids.
Yeah.
Mediums can't afford daycare.
No.
So they're bringing their kids to work.
I don't know why not, though. They could just communicate with their kids at home and be like, get off that damn couch. I see you reaching your hand to that cookie jar. If they were legit, they would know.
Oh, that's a good point. That's a good point. They're like, hold up. He's jumping on the bed. I would do that shit all the time to make people think like, hold on, got a parent. I'll be a minute. Jeff, get the fuck out of there. That'd be great. Like, I'm not gonna name my kid Jeff. I'm just saying. Yeah, I love those instances of like, psychic convention postponed due to unforeseen circumstances and things like that. I saw one on a psychic's office that said like, don't bother calling. I'll call you or something like that. Or, like, don't ring the bell. I know you're coming. Like, I like the confidence.
Yeah. I want to see one of those and then just wait outside the door and just see, like.
Just stand there, waiting. Yeah.
You're like, do you know how long I've been here? Oh, I knew you were there. I just didn't want to open the door. But you knew our meeting started at 3:30.
Stephen Hawking once held a party for time travelers, and he held it the day before. So, like, if the time travelers were coming, they would have been there yesterday.
Oh, that's funny. Good for him.
Nobody showed up, apparently.
They said, we know it's a ruse to prove our secrets.
We don't got to prove anything to you, Steve.
We're not going to fall for that microphone wheelchair, man. Like,
God. I saw one where it was a lady who was buying a crystal ball from like a magic shop. And the lady was like, whatever you do not leave it uncovered during the day. And the lady was like, why? Can spirits get in it? She's like, no, because the sunlight will reflect off it and burn your house down.
It'll cause a fire. It reflects. Don't do it.
So the mediums all came to the house and apparently cleansed it. Ed and Lorraine Warren did that. Lorraine Warren said this was the most evil place she's ever been. And, after you hear all this shit about the house, I'm sure, yeah, it's going to feel pretty evil. Go into a house that nobody's talked about and claim that there's ghosts there. Then I'll be impressed.
That's my problem with the medium thing, is they knew all of this stuff had happened. They went in with that prior knowledge, so of course they're gonna be like, oh, like there's a little boy in this room where I definitely found out that the kid was murdered in. Like, oh, like his spirits are angry and upset here. Like, yeah, because you just heard all these stories and you're here for a reason. It should have just been like hey, I just want you to come in here and just see the house. Like, you don't know anything about this house. Just come into my house and just do your thing. Now, more than likely, like most mediums, are going to use those broad generalizations. They're going to be like, oh, like, I sense unhappiness here. Like, oh, yeah. Like, are they crying? Like, they are crying. Like, my grandma used to cry. Yes, I know. It's your grandmother. Like, bruh.
I hope that picture of the kid was like, they were like, oh, my God. And they took the picture, but then, like, they lowered the camera, and it's literally just a kid eating, like, a grilled cheese. And he's like, is my mommy down there? He's like, damn it. I'll go get her. Is this anybody's kid? And somebody's like, yeah.
Yeah, that's mine.
Let him have the grilled cheese. He's not bothering anybody.
Well, it's like that, and then the stupid, I know, like, one of the mediums that was there, she apparently became, like, a Native American chief or whatever. And I don't believe that. Like, there's been people throughout history that can, you know, like, transform their voices and their appearance. Like, have you seen Jim Carrey and the voices that man can do? There was a woman in the circus in, like, the early 1900s, if not late 1800s, and she, like, legit, like, worked out one side of her body so that she didn't have a boob on that side and had, like, super, like, tough arms, and, like, marketed herself as a man and a woman. And, like, just, she could do that, and she could change her voice. She could, like, move, like, the, you know, an Adam's apple. Like, she could do that. So this chick who apparently, you know, became, like, engrossed by the spirit of a Native American, which, again, is a very broad generalization. You can go anywhere in the United States and be like, I sense crying Native Americans here. This must have been their home. Like, yeah, literally, like, everywhere in the country. You dumb bitch. Like... Ugh, it makes me so mad. I don't know. I don't believe a lot of that stuff. Like, I do believe that ghosts and all that stuff exist, and that I think mediums could possibly be a profession that, like, that works. But I have yet to see one that seems legit.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'm with you. One of my favorite X-Files moments. If you ever watched that show, check it out. Mulder is the lead FBI agent who's, like, investigating paranormal occurrences, and he believes in everything. But he always vets this shit first. He's always like, you know, is this the real deal? And he does a test. And there's this one serial killer who claimed to be a psychic. And he brought him to the house where he committed the crime and said, like, what can you feel? Because there were two victims that hadn't been identified. And he was like, tell me what you feel in this house. And he's like, oh my God, this is the house. I remember, you know, I killed her here. I moved her out there. And eventually Mulder's like, actually, it was the house across the street that you committed the crime in, you lying piece of shit. And it was such a great moment.
Hell yeah.
So I love when he dunks that shit. But, yeah.
Get riggedy wrecked, dummy.
The Warrens, I don't know. Because you look into, like, the stories behind The Conjuring and The Conjuring 2, the true stories are Ed and Lorraine Warren showing up unannounced and being like, can we look around? And then being like, no. And then they leave, and then they say, like, we saved them.
We did it. We did it, Patrick. We saved the city.
But you can't make a horror franchise out of that,
No.
so you gotta embellish a little bit.
And that's like with every movie we talk about in here. You can't make a blockbuster movie based off of a true story, and you only stick to the facts. Because there's going to be points that are like, okay, like, that's boring. We don't need to talk about that. You got to add in, like, the fun pizzazz and the flair. Like, you know, black goop coming out of your toilets. Yeah. That's why you didn't put the fact that you abused your kids in the movie, because nobody wants to watch that. But people do want to watch blood coming out of the walls and the dog biting George's arm. But no, not kid abuse. We don't want to watch that.
Yeah. The real Amityville Horror is an abusive stepdad.
Yeah.
Ugh. So, interesting here, when this all went down, George Lutz contacted Butch DeFeo's lawyer, William Weber, who was trying to get a book written about his client. Weber told ABC how Lutz got drunk when telling his story and how he was just creating ideas. And basically they were like, well, let's combine these ventures, and they got Jay Anson on board, and that was the Amityville Horror. So... the Lutzes made about $300,000 off this, so I'm gonna go ahead and assume they made this shit up, or at least George did. He might have convinced the kids, like, yeah, you really did have an imaginary friend named Jody, the pig boy. So, and that's what you're gonna tell the press.
Yeah.
Kind of sad.
Yeah, it is. It's gross, but, you know, whatever. He's dead, but. Yeah, the documentary that I watched was trying to downplay the fact that they were like, he wouldn't have made it up, or like, he only made $300,000. Only made $300,000? Like, homie wasn't being investigated by the IRS. You know, had 2 boats, one in another boat, had a motorcycle, had 2 cars, had this really nice, you know, Dutch colonial revival home. Yeah, $300,000, yes please, for telling a story that's going to keep making you money your whole life if you want to. Like, yeah, I would too. I'm not a good enough liar, though. I write too many things down in my journal. Someone would steal it, and they'd be like, yeah, she's definitely lying. Like, she's writing about it here.
I couldn't keep it up that long. I couldn't my whole life be like, yeah, I looked the devil in the eye. What are you gonna do about it? You call me a liar, and yeah.
Like, I am calling you a liar. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing.
Because there's a moment in the doc that I watched where the interviewer straight up asked Daniel, would you take a lie detector test? And Daniel gets super defensive and is like, people have been asking me that whole life. People have been asking me that my whole life. What makes you so special? What do you think? You're going to get something out of me that no one else has? How dare you, you son of a bitch. Like, he gets super, like he's going to punch the guy. And the guy's just like, so is that a no? Like,
no.
He holds his ground, and I'm like, if you really did go through this, then a simple yes. Like, yeah, I'll
George and Kathy did.
Yeah.
And they passed. But also a lot of those things too, like if you know how to control your, your heart rate and stuff like that, you can pass a lie detector test. Like, it's really easy to lie to people. I hate to admit it, but it's really easy to lie to people, especially when you get older and you figure it out. And I mean, again, some of this stuff definitely could have happened, pero there's too many coincidences and stupid things where you're like, all right, man, no.
Yeah. You got anything else to add? Anything else you wanted to bring up?
Not that I know of. I just find it interesting how both the DeFeo family and the Lutz family had abusive fathers. Because apparently DeFeo was abusive and beat up his wife and Ronnie pretty frequently. And you have George Lutz, Mr. Fireman, who's also beating up his family. Like, ugh.
Yeah, maybe there's something in the water over at 112 Ocean Avenue.
Or again, it's the black mold.
Yeah, that's what we theorized while watching the movie. We're like, maybe the house... I'm hoping the family that bought it after the Lutzes, which... The price of this house jumped from like 80 grand to like 1.3 mil because it's a famous house.
It looks really nice now. Like, the inside of it's really pretty.
They renovated the eye windows because everyone was taking pictures of their house, so they got rid of that.
Which, also, that's a really stupid point if I didn't bring it up. Them being like, oh, the house looks like it has eyes and it's staring at you. Every house looks like it has eyes and it's staring at you. Oh my god. Every car does too. If my car hits and kills a bunch of people in a parking lot, is every single Ford Escape evil because it has, eyes that look at you? Every car looks the exact same. Every Dutch colonial revival house has eyes on the side or, could have that. Like, you just put freaking dormers on top of a roof, which are like those little, like, windows that pop out of a roof. Put two of those up there in any house. Look, it has eyes. Is it evil all of a sudden? Look, there's a mustache too because it's got that, like, half lunette window. It's dumb. Stupid reasoning.
The only evil car is a 57 red Plymouth Fury, and we all know why.
Yes, we all know why. Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I'm not going to tell you.
Good. It's like, I know why. Totally. Mm-hmm.
This was fun. I like this a lot. We got to do more of these bullshit movies where it's not like, sad history. It's complete nonsense history trying to pass itself off as fact. I love that. So after weighing all the evidence, looking at, the Lutz account, the movie, the book, DeFeo, all of it, I'm going to go ahead on record and say this 100% happened. Not a single moment was made up. The devil exists. Ghosts and demons are real. They're coming for everyone who listened to this episode. Goodbye. Nah, JK, this is bullshit. You imagine? God, you have to be a complete moron to believe a word of these people's account of this. Come on. The 70s, man. Spiritualism and all that. Like, people would swallow anything.
Yeah. That's what people do. No, I agree. If I'm just going based off, like, is the movie like what they said? From the book perspective, which also could, be its own thing, but if I'm going based off of the book, which came out before the movie, no, the movie's not accurate to what happened in the book.
And the book is not accurate to what happened in real life.
Happened in real life. So no, it's not a true story based off of it. Does it match up to history? But also, it's not a true story. Period. But that's just my fact, actual opinion.
I'm looking forward to finding one of these, ghost stories that, leans a little bit more into possibility. I feel like the one that's going to do that is The Exorcist, but we are, I don't know if that's going to happen over here.
Yeah, I don't know if I can do that one.
It's a lot.
I don't know if I'm allowed to.
Well, in the meantime, thanks for listening, everybody. If you like the show, feel free to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at FILMGAZM Productions. If you want to suggest films for us to check out, you can email us at filmgazm@gmail.com, or, of course, send us a message through the socials. Check out our Letterboxd accounts for daily reviews. You can search me at Connor95, and in my friends list, you can find the rest of the team. If you want to support the show through Anchor, you can click on Support This Podcast on your preferred provider. We appreciate the interest. Quick reminder that Fake True Stories is not a weekly show, but rather a spontaneous experiment that can drop at any time whenever Isabel and I feel like putting one together.
Mm-hmm.
In the meantime, ghosts probably don't exist, but I still would never set foot in the house at 112 Ocean Avenue, Amityville, Long Island. Take it easy, and we'll see you next time on Fake True Stories.